Right. So I'm assuming everyone's got the music. There are some fairly obvious markings. There are some less obvious markings. And just wave a hand if you've had a chance to listen to the track of your vocal part. Some have, some haven't. So if you'll forgive me, if you have already done that, I'm going to start off by, okay, thank you. I'm going to start off by playing one of the vocal tracks because there are some unusual things that go on that you don't necessarily see in the score. And we need to get the hang of that. So bear with me a moment. That's annoying because I had that already. There we are. That's really annoying because I really did have it already. Now, where's that gone? Okay, Laura, come to my aid.
Are you trying to share your computer audio?
No, I'm trying to find the right. Ah, got it. No, it's
there
fine.
You go.
I've got it. But before I do that, I need to share properly. Share computer, sound, optimize screen. Okay, sorry about that. That was pathetic. I humbly apologize. I am going to play the soprano track. So I'm afraid we're favoring sopranos again. And what I'd like you to do is to sing. But don't worry, you're muted. I'd like to sing along, and in particular, checking where the breaths are marked, because we have to take some decisions about which phrases we stagger and which phrases we don't. So I need feedback from you as to which phrases you believe you can get through and which you can't. There we are. That's the purpose of this, and to familiarize anyone who doesn't know this beautiful piece. Sound. Still fishing around. Can you tell me if you can hear this, please? Not very nice. Great. Okay, so when we call this a rehearsal, it's not quite so much a rehearsal because we can't all sing together and then it all goes wrong and I have to fix it like a real rehearsal. This is more about identifying what we're going to be trying to do. So you need your pencil and we'll just work through bit by bit. If there's something that's not clear, please come off mute and say so we can deal with it at that time. I've said this a few times, but I'm going to repeat it for the sake of it. In this 100 odd people we've got here, there is a very wide range of experience. Some people are very experienced, some people are very inexperienced. And so it may well be that I explain something in one way that some people will understand, others not. So, but because I've got half a brain, I will then try to explain it in a different way. So do shout if things aren't clear. Right. First of all, we look at the text, and the text is, for me, this is a statement. It's not actually a prayer. It's a statement. This place was made by God, a priceless sacrament. It is without reproach. Now, it's a very clumsy translation because Latin doesn't always translate well. I mean, the last line could just be, it is perfect. But there is this irreprehensibilis word that's floating around that's got a sort of implication that it's not something. So that's why that translation is sort of, it is without reproach, is sort of halfway house maybe. So we've got to sing it in a way that carries the total commitment and convincing manner of a very deeply felt statement. So all the decisions we make about how we perform it are based on that central idea. For example, at the beginning, I would like you to breathe in over 2 beats. There is a correlation between the way you attack the first note you sing and the way in which you breathe. If you take a very quick breath like this, bang, then you get more impetus on the attack. And sometimes that's what we want. Here, it's not what we want. We want a very velvety start. Luckily, it starts with a L. So that's what we're after. And I think breathing in over 2 beats will help us to get that. Now, this is where we then combine musical tweaking with online internet tweaking. So I'm just going to share that screen again, because if you listen from the beginning, you'll get the 4 parts, and then 8 clicks. So the clicks start underneath the piano chord, so we have to be counting them. Now, when I will record a rehearsal video, like we did last time, a rehearsal video and a performance video. Largely, the big difference is fancy shirt and red shoes, but the rehearsal video is there for help. So you will get a cue that will look something like this. Hoping that's clear. So that's the first thing. And don't forget that when you record your video, that will be very apparent. So we're going to try and coordinate that. Next thing, if you look at the end of bar 4, there's a V. That's a standard code for breath. That's the crotchet is as long as it is, and that's the end of a phrase. So it's a perfectly nice place to breathe. Halfway through the phrase, there are 2 crotchet rests, and they sort of get in the way because the phrase is Locus iste adeo factus est. So he's created this wonderful 4-bar phrase, but with a gap in the middle. And for me, it's really important that we retain the sense of the phrase running through those rests. We don't allow the tension to completely go slack. It's not locus iste adeo factus est. We've got to try and create the line. So we're going to try to do it like this. We're going to breathe on beat 4, and we're going to hold on the first beat of the next bar. And we will hold the shape of the vowels. Matt will be working on this. He's got some very cunning ideas. Locus iste adeo. We don't close the mouth. If you close the mouth, if you breathe in on the first crotchet of the third bar, it will create too much impact on the second crotchet. So that's the musical juggle. That's what we're trying to create. And then in every phrase, there is the gooey bit. All phrases have a shape. And here, the shape, it's the point in the phrase that everything moves towards and then relaxes away from. And here it is factus est. You can see the little diminuendo there. It's almost not a diminuendo, it's a phrase end. Locus iste adeo factus est. Then we have that now something that's really important. In the first bar, there's a dotted minim. And what is likely to happen is we'll sing Locus iste. So what we have to do, and Matt is either in Belgium or France or somewhere deeply dodgy, I think. He's hoping to come in, join in at some point if he can find a good connection. But it'd be interesting to get him to sing that, because a trained singer as good as him would do it automatically. What we have to do, we have to cherish the dot. It's not making that part of the note louder, but it's making it slightly more intense. So we sing Locus iste. If we do that, we will maintain the line of the phrase and it won't sag in the middle. So everywhere you see a dotted minim, cherish the dot. Okay, that applies throughout. Bar 5 is exactly the same as bar 1. So sopranos, altos, tenors, the same idea. We breathe on 4 and we hold the air on 1. We don't bottle it up and let it out explosively. We just hold the vowel shape and just sing after a spare crotchet. Basses, I'm imagining that you will not breathe between iste and adeo. So if you can, when you have rehearsed this, we don't need to deal with this tonight. We'll deal with this in the sectionals next week. So when you're practicing it, you have to see if you can get through the whole 4 bars that are marked with one breath comfortably. And then we can discuss that in the sectionals and we'll allocate breath places so that we stagger the breathing nicely. Okay, bar 8, basses. You will see that you are missing a st on the 3rd beat of the bar. This is where I do want you to breathe in plenty of time. So you just sing that 3rd note of the bar as a quaver with no st. There will be plenty of st floating around in the other 3 parts. So that will be just fine. Factus est adeo. That should give you enough time to get a decent breath in, because you've got to go through to the next breath mark basses, which is in 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, same trick. You just sing the first half of that note, no st at the end, and that will give you much more time for a good breath there. Sopranos, altos, tenors. I think that you, in the copy you've got in bar 9 on the first crotchet, I don't think you have a breath. In which case, could you please put a breath in? On this occasion, we're breathing on the first beat because it's a new phrase. Adeo. Deo factus est. And then another breath on 10. Sopranos, altos, tenors. The first crotchet in 9 and 10, breath. We've got Matt coming in, so why doesn't everybody come off mute for a moment? And the minute he comes in, you can all say good evening. Organized chaos. On your marks. Laura, you're not off mute yet. Off, come on.
I'm on it.
Marked, get set, go.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Good evening, everybody. How are we?
Hi.
Where are you?
You lost your beard.
Good.
Fine.
I did.
Yeah, nice new look.
Thank you. I look more like my picture now.
Indeed.
You went abroad to get a haircut.
I did, yes. How's it going?
Matt, it's going very well. I suggested that everyone could come off mute to say good evening to you. I'm now going to mute everyone, and then can you unmute yourself?
Absolutely.
There we are. So, Matt, yeah, we're on page 1. We've listened to a bit of it eventually when I clicked on the right button, but that's a typical me. We've dealt with a 2 beat in breath.
Great.
We've dealt with the curious breathing over the bar line between 2 and 3. And I was delighted you've arrived because I was hoping you could just demonstrate that. Or is this a social call?
No, I can do that, sure. I think that if you decide to stop the locus with your breath, it is that, isn't it? Remind me,
Iste.
it's locus,
Locus iste.
Yeah, so stop that with the breath, keep your mouth completely open, and use the upbeat as your in-breath. Yeah? And then you breathe in, not quite.
Not the downbeat. Yes, the upbeat. No, you're absolutely right. I'm just...
The upbeat, and then you
agreeing.
breathe out on the downbeat into the adeo. So it almost becomes a slight aspirate. So we get locus iste adeo, so that we don't get ah. So the downbeat is not a breath. It's the upbeat is the inhalation, and then you breathe out into your adeo on the second beat of the bar.
Great. That's pretty much what I think we've got. So that's good news. I've pointed out that the basses lost a couple of ests in order to facilitate a nice quick breath. That point in 11 leaving into 12, we're going to have to find a beautiful sound because it goes very low for pretty much everyone. I suppose the least low in the tessitura is for the tenors, but for anyone generally it's pretty low in 11 and 12. And we've got to find a way of combining the line with not getting too grunty. So that, if you can just make a little mental note of that, or write something that's going to remind you, that's something that we can look at together in the sectional again, but that will be something to keep an eye on.
I just chime in there. Your greatest friend there is the fact that it's a piano, and what it would be super tempting for the basses especially is to preempt that piano marking, and to preempt the forte marking within the last couple of beats of the piano. So you could easily dig yourself a hole in the factus before you come in with inestimabile. That is the forte. So don't preempt the forte in your piano.
Okay, over the page. Could you mark, please, a little diminuendo on mentum. Whenever you have two crotchets together like that, it tends to sound ugly if you hit them both the same. So, if you say the word sacramentum, it's just a natural, when you're saying it, sometimes when we're singing it, we forget that, especially in the sort of traditional choral society approach, where everything is sacrificed for accuracy. So everything has to be very precise. Sacramentum. So it ends up sounding like a robot. So sacramentum, a little diminuendo there. Basses, you lose a m on your quaver there in bar 16 in order to give you a nice bit of time for breathing. That should work nicely. Then we've got the next phrase. Could you please mark a breath on the bar line of 17? There we're looking for energy at the beginning of that phrase because it's going to get loud as we all get higher. So we need energy at the start so that we sort of make it sound as if it's fairly similar. And you'll notice in 20 we have actually got a diminuendo. Okay, I'm going to take that little patch up to there, Matt, if you're happy with that. Let's forgive me. I've got the soprano bias at the moment, so we're going to stick with that for now. And we'll so I will play from the beginning. I would really love it if you could all sing your hearts out, not loudly, but sing properly. We're really joining in. If you don't know this piece yet, then your voice track is your tool. You can have it, you can download it, you can play it over and over again. And the best advice I can give you about learning is bite-sized chunks. Don't try to learn it by playing the whole thing 20 times. Play the first phrase 4 times and then the second phrase 4 times and sing ever more confidently along with it. If you do it in bite-sized chunks, then you're reinforcing it. If you play the whole thing, you will have forgotten the beginning by the time you get to the end. That's a really, really good learning concept. Okay, so this is from the beginning. No. Tenors, altos, corners. 8 clicks. 5, 6, breathe. Now, how many people tried that weird breathing arrangement? I can't see many tiles. You can see my screen. You can see that I can't see very many people. If you didn't, give it a try. Breathe on 4 and do nothing on 1 of bar 3. Don't close your mouth. Just stay in a nice, relaxed state. Breathe. so as you can hear, what you've got to learn your line, that's the soprano track. If we listen to the tenors or basses or altos, whatever, that track is highlighted within the artificial voices. It's also got the ping of the piano, because the great thing about the artificial voices is that they are perfectly in tune. The problem is that there's no consonants, it's all vowels. So there's no ping on the start of the note. So your start on the beat, whether you're putting the consonants before the beat mat, usually, or whether you've got a vowel start on the entry, that's the piano ping that you can hear. Now, something that people sometimes have problems with in choirs is when you sing, you can learn a line up, down, up a bit, down a bit, left a bit, fine. When you stop, you've got to find a new note to start with, and that, for some people, that can be tricky. And so you need strategy. And I'm going to just give me a moment.
Whilst you do that, Bob,
Please.
can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
We've got the percussiveness of the piano, but also the voices. In the Locus Iste, there is actually quite a lot of repeated notes within your part. And you will hear, for example, in the inestimabile, in the sopranos, in order for you to keep a sense of pulse, even the MIDI voices give you 4 separate E's. So it would be really easy then to kind of take that on board and end up singing E, ne, sti, ma, bile. So actually, you guys have to use the percussiveness of the piano to stay in tune, the pitching of the MIDI file, but then the one thing that you've got to do against those two helpful tracks is to actually sing super legato. So those, even though it's over 4 different syllables with different vowels and different consonants, it should all be 1 E. Otherwise, we're going to have a situation where we've got light between each crotchet, and we all sound like peck chickens. And we don't want that because it's one word.
We don't want
and
that.
That's where the MIDI file isn't useful.
Okay, so I'm now going to share the screen, and you'll see that we've now got the tenor part up. So for some people, finding that C is okay. Don't be fooled. Very few people have perfect pitch, and those who do, it's usually a curse. Because if you hear an orchestra playing slightly above A equals 440, or you hear an original instrument orchestra playing a whole semitone lower, that's really painful for people with perfect pitch. So do not think that you need to be sopranos, you need to be able to pitch your F sharp from nowhere. What you need is a little strategy to move from what you know to find what you don't know. So in the tenors, I'm just going to have to find this place. So we're listening to the tenor part, which is we're on Sacramento, page 2, bar 19-ish, and we'll hear the tenors move from an E to a D sharp in 20. Now then, in that rest, if we were in a rehearsal, I would get our accompanist, I hope it'd be the lovely Rupert, I would get him to play a line that goes E, D sharp, D, C, C. So on 4 crotchets in that bar, 2 of which you sing, 2 of which you don't. E, D sharp, D, C, C. I would get him to play that in that rest. Then I would ask you to sing with him. When you've got that into yourself, into your soul, I'd then ask you to sing the first 2 notes and hum the 3rd and 4th very softly. And what that does, that gives you a pathway from where you finish singing to the next note of the first phrase. Let's just hear that, please. So if you were struggling with picking up that note, you could sit there with this track, find exactly the right spot, and play it over. So you sing la da dee da, there's the C. And if I were to do it very quickly, for example, for the sopranos, so that we've lined that up in all the parts, obviously not the basses, because that is the tool that we would use in the rehearsal to find the first note to the next phrase. Once you've got that inside you, it's dead easy. Now, of course, what we can do is, because we are recording it remotely, we can keep that in the recording, like we did for the foray. I've got to say that the intonation in the middle section of the foray was the best I've ever heard it from an amateur choir, because we got all those note pitches in our ears at the same time. It's cheating, but I think it's good cheating. So now let's pick up back at the sopranos. And we're going to just look at that middle section. That's how you find your notes. I think there's Matt, you're probably going to want to jump in here, because this is almost plain chant. It's all on it's not much of a melody. It's all on the same note. So everything is then in the voice, isn't it?
Yes. Are you going to play the video that
I could do it
recorded
now.
Well, if you do, then I won't say what I...
Okay.
Because otherwise I'll repeat myself.
Okay. We're about halfway through.
Let's continue through the score and then finish with my video, and I'll say goodbye because I need to...
Fine. That's okay. That's fine. Matt recorded a bit of a rehearsal video in case he couldn't make it. So that's a good plan. We'll finish with that at the end, and then we'll get that put on the resources as well, so you can catch up with that if it flashes by too quickly.
Don't worry, guys. It's literally 8 minutes. It's not another 40 minutes.
Are we all in the right place? R23. What are we going to do in bar 24, 25, 26, in bar 27, where there's a mezzo forte marked? What are we going to do in that bar? Cherish the dot. That's a fantastic 4-bar phrase. If we don't cherish the dot, the phrase will sag in the middle. It needs to be strong. So in these bars, we're looking for Matt. How are we going to get the intensity of that text on one note, like a declamatory sort of thing, but within pianissimo? He didn't know I was going to ask that question, by the way.
No, I think the R's will be useful for those that can roll them, but I think, as is always, there's two kind of angles here. It's understanding that nothing is ever static. Everything always has its own journey, like the Camino in itself. So you don't land on a note and on a vowel and that's it until you utter the next consonant or the next vowel. There's actually a progression that takes place between that. So that's how you cherish the dot. It's also understanding what that text means to you. It is without reproach. It has no fault. And I mentioned in the video about how to imbue your dynamic with that thought, understanding what that means to you.
Can we please mark a couple of things in here? Bar 22, 23, right, tenors. Let's start with you. 18, 19, 20, 21. 21 and 22 is a 2-bar phrase, hairpin. Not a massive crescendo and diminuendo, but just enough to give it shape. The same for the next 2 bars. The same for the next 2 bars. And then you've got a 3-bar phrase on 27. So that needs a little bit more direction. Sopranos and altos. 18, 19, 20, 21, bar 22. 2-bar phrase, hairpin up and down. That should look like that, a crescendo and a diminuendo, but not too much. 24, 25, the same, so that the gooey part of the phrase comes on the bar line each time. So that's 2-bar phrases, and then sopranos, altos, tenors, sopranos, altos, I beg your pardon, a 4-bar phrase, so that the crescendo is up for 2 bars and then the diminuendo down for 2 bars. This is the classic phrase structure of classical music. Short, short, long. Dee-dum, dee-dum, dee-dum. Dee-dum, dee-dum, dee-dum. Dee-dum, 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 dee-diddly-dum. That's what we're looking for there, that phrase structure. Let's play on, because we've got to...
come in a minute.
Please.
Can we have some help with the rhythm of bar 23 and 25? Because it's not really reflected in the practice thing.
Ah, okay. Irreprehensibilis est. Helpful?
Yes.
Not very.
Could we maybe have a sing of it and see?
Well, I wouldn't dare sing with Matt in the same meeting. Matt, could you give us a little demo of Irreprehensibilis est?
I'm on my holiday. It's irreprehensibilis est.
Okay.
Bum, ba-dum, bum. I think, yes, you're right. The MIDI file is quite mushy.
Yeah.
I show you the dotted quaver, semiquavers there, but because of the way that the choir sound is produced, it probably isn't particularly.
Could you do the same? Sorry, could you do the same for the tenor line? Those same bars?
It's exactly the same, Kirk. Irreprehensibilis est.
Bar 20, 24.
Let's stick with Kirk for a minute, and then whoever that lady is can come in a second. Was that helpful, Kirk, or can I be clearer?
Just maybe one more time, because I just had bar 24 looked different than the soprano line on 24.
Oh, no, it is. What's happening, if you look, the tenors start in 18, 19, 20, in 21, and then the sopranos and altos echo what they're doing 1 bar later.
Oh, okay.
So it's an overlap. The phrases overlap. So it's classic musical ping pong. So for the tenors, we're looking at bar 22, and for sopranos and altos, we're looking at bar 23. Those rhythms are identical. They're just offset by 1 bar. Sibilis est. Yes.
Right. In the 4-bar phrase, beginning at 26, you said coach the dot, which is but emphasize the 2 bars. That's almost the end. So do you actually want us to carry on the sort of diminuendo to the end of the bar, or the end of the dotted middle?
No, you misunderstood me, I think, Nola. What I'm looking for, and I'm going to say, could you please put that mezzo forte in brackets? There's a mezzo forte on 27. Put it in brackets. It just doesn't need to stick out. I don't know. I don't like it very much. So we might well.
Bob, I don't think it's on the score anymore.
Ah, fantastic.
The one that I've got on Dropbox doesn't have it. I think we took it out.
I was about to say it's not on mine.
Oh, hooray! In that case, that was just on the draft that I marked up. So that's all gone. So I'll just do that phrase structure thing again, because it's really important. Tenors, we're looking at bar 21. where you start on a C. Irreprehensibilis est. So the gooey part of the phrase is on the bar line. Be careful you don't overstretch the sibilis est. Is that good, Matt?
You presumably, Bob, want an E reprehens rather than I reprehens.
Matt?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
And if you...
a long E rather than a short I.
Yeah. Irreprehensibilis est.
Yeah, thanks, Matt.
Okay, so we've got a 2-bar phrase there, tenors, with a hairpin up and down. So that the hairpin creates the gooey part of the phrase, the important part of the phrase, on the bar line. Then we have another 2-bar phrase following it, same shape. Then we have another 2-bar phrase following it. Then you have a 3-bar phrase that needs more sustained. For sopranos and altos, Nola. Where you come in 22, you've got a 2-bar phrase, up and down, hairpin, normal arch shape. Then you have another 2-bar phrase, 24, 25. Then you have a 4-bar phrase, and that means the crescendo of the forward momentum part of the phrase lasts 2 bars. It goes through the dotted minim. That's why we have to cherish that dot in particular, and then starts the diminuendo on bar 28 into 29. Was that clearer, Nola? Great.
Yes, much clearer. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so let us sing that middle section together. Come on. 22. Now. So, if you look in 29, where you have a minim rest, this applies equally to the basses. As you know, to make a writ in a virtual choir, the only way you can really do it is subdivide. So in that minim rest, there are 4 quaver clicks, which are at a slower tempo. That means that we stretch that minim out. Now, to me, it feels slightly weird because there's suddenly the clicks are going at a slower tempo. When we don't hear the clicks and we just hear you singing, that means we will have a moment of poise, like we did with the sopranos on the long pause in the foray. So the end product will be fabulous. So just watch out for that, and I will give you a really nice in-breath.
Where can we breathe in there?
Do you mean in 26, 27, 28, 29?
Yes.
Okay, well.
Straight through.
We are going to be, as I said at the start, we're going to have to sort the breathing out in the sectionals because most of this is written in 4-bar phrases. If you've got fantastic breath control, you might be able to get through that. If you haven't, we will need to stagger. And so that's something we'll sort out within the sections as we go along. So I said earlier that I'd like you to try. So if you, was that a soprano or an alto question?
Soprano.
Soprano. So I would like you to try and sing Irreprehensibilis est. Now, I was taking it easy there. I wasn't really pushing much air through, so I was making it easier for myself. You need to decide if you can do that phrase in one breath.
Okay.
We'll take a straw poll in the sectionals and we'll sort out from there.
Great.
Okay, can we listen to?
At this point, if I may, I'm going to have to go and love and leave you all. Have a great week, and enjoy the video that I made. And I will see you all next Monday, those sopranos.
You have a great week too, Matt.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
So here we are back to the beginning. So we're now in bar 30. Everything's very similar to the beginning. You can see in 31, we've got breathe on the fourth crotchet. Do not breathe on the first crotchet. Hold the vowel shape. Then we breathe 30, 31, 32, 33. We breathe at the end of 33. This is the same as before. We have in 34, we have basses going through a whole 4-bar phrase. Guys, it's up to you to tell me whether that's going to be a whole 4-bar phrase or whether we're going to fake it. 35, last crotchet of the bar, breathe as we've done before, hold on the first crotchet of 36. Then we have 38, sopranos, altos, tenors, breath at the beginning of 38 and at the beginning of 39. Basses, you've got a cut off est in 37 to give you space for a little breath there, and then a breath at the end of 38. Really crucial basses that you're bang on that bar line because you set off the whole sort of last section. 37, 38, 39. At the end of 39, Deo, you will see there's a little comma. What we're looking for there is a stop in the sound, but no breath. So that bar will go Deo, De, etc. Comma, but no breath. Now this is a 4-bar phrase. So another one, it's not for the basses. Yes, it is. Beg your pardon. It is for it's longer for the basses, in fact. This is one that I need you to check out on the air tank capacity, because this is curiously rather like in the forage. You remember we had that long crescendo to a silence. It was silence for us, but it was the climax of the piece for the organ. Here, the climax is a crescendo into silence. So it's crucial when you test that phrase from there, from 39 to the end of the line, it's crucial that you have enough air at the end. Oh, sorry, Anne, we're keeping you up. I can only see 4 people on my screen, as you can probably well see, but and you were one of them. So it's crucial we've got plenty of air at the end of that line to really feed the crescendo into the bar line, which is another plate glass window. We will run straight into that. Then, can you see the V, the breath mark, is on the 4th beat of the bar in 43. That's another one of these early breaths. So we breathe on the upbeat as if we're going to sing on the downbeat, but we sing nothing. Ah, de, o, de. And that is the same as at the end of 39. There's a comma, but no breath. And we will definitely have to stagger that phrase. It's 5 bars. Yeah, that's absolutely going to be necessary. Don't worry, we'll sort that out in the sectionals. So if do you remember how we fixed it last time particularly in the Mozart, when we allocate a specific place for everyone to breathe. So we're thereby faking the fact that we're doing a 5-bar phrase in one breath. But please, on that page, those 2 commas, you will be tempted to breathe. Please don't. Okay, let's listen to that last section and then we'll come off and we'll have some questions. Here we go. Does everybody know where we are? This is bar 30. Okay, here we go to the end. Breathe. 2, 3, breathe, don't. Here's comma. So, we got backwards. Did you hear? Thank you. Did you hear the click at the end on the last note? The st comes on the 4th beat of the bar, and we will make as little of that as we can. Don't make a meal of it, please. You'll notice in 43 that the tempo is slower. So in 43, it will go slowly. 1, 2, 3, breathe, hold. De, o, comma, de. And we will figure out the staggering in that 5-bar phrase in the sectionals. Got lots of lovely long notes to breathe in, so that will work. So that is my whistle stop tour. I'm going to stop sharing. Okay. Any questions? Wow.
I need to go in a minute, but will Max's video be available?
Yes, it will.
Okay.
Yes.
Thanks.
It almost is at the moment, but it's not quite showing, but it will be. Any more? Ian?
Bob, that last phrase, the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bars.
Yes.
Saying do all that in one breath. And given that you're slowing it right down, that's really hard. I just tried it and tried to take did the pause.
Ian, could I interrupt you for a moment? I refer the honourable gentleman to the answer I gave some moments ago. Okay. Not only did I say that those last 5 bars will be staggered.
Okay.
Fine. There's also an S written in my score in a circle.
Ah, right. Is that what that is? Sorry.
So, I mean, what I'm saying is I think 4 bars is just about the limit for most people. And different people here will have different limits, depending on the physical capability, the amount of study they've done, the breathing technique and so on. So we will figure that out in the sectionals, but I think 4 bars is touch and go. 5 bars is certainly not possible, which is why we'll have to fake it.
Thank you.
I think the faking worked really well in the foray, especially. The end. It feels, as you I remember you pointed out in the tenor sectional that you hated it because it felt weird. But
I really made a point of trying to pick it out, and I couldn't.
But you have to sacrifice your own pleasure momentarily for the good of all. Any more questions? Jan, you look questioning. I can tell.
Yes, please. Basses, bar 17, 18. you've got inestimabile, and then you've got the forte, and then you've got sacramentum. Did you say you wanted a breath between 17 and 18 to get that that push, or
No.
is that straight through? No.
No. There's a breath in 16.
Yep.
Where we've cut the crotchet to a quaver, and by cutting the m off the end of tum.
Yep.
And then from there, it's a phrase. Inestimabile sacramentum. One phrase.
Okay.
Whatever we have to do to achieve that, we will juggle. Bye, Lizzie. Any more questions?
Yeah, Neil here. I've got a question for you.
Neil.
In bars 15 into 16 for the basses. So in bar 16, you've got the other voices sort of holding back on mentum. You presumably want the same for the basses in 15 into 16 to also sort of hold back into the tum as well, but not to hit the tum. That's always a bass trick, is always to hit the tum. They quite often do the same in bar 20.
Well, I'll tell you why that is. No, I don't think I don't want a diminuendo into it, because it's not really the end of the musical phrase. It's the end of the written phrase. But I know exactly what you're saying. And the reason why the basses hit that is because they are scared about getting enough air in if they've got to go mentum ene. We are cheating by doing the same thing. I mean, if many of you have done the Messiah at St. Martin's, and you know I often split the section into two. So half the section sing the last note of the phrase and grab a breath as best they can. The other half of the section don't sing the last note of the phrase, get a breath in instead. So the entry that comes the next beat is really strong. It's that kind of cheat.